Elric and Rakhir reach the entrance to the tunnel, and yet they both agree it was too easy. They enter, and it feels like the cave is alive. They reach a point where there was only one opening in the wall, too small for a person to get through. But Elric realized the person can pass through that because it would expand. Yes, it was a cave more like made of living flesh. The pulsing cavern and so on, you can pretty much get it. He tells his friend to stay back as he moves forward. Rakhir won't do that. So they pass through the first hole and then through another, and that one leads to Irkun and the two blades. Elric wants to strike his cousin with his sword, but he can't, so Rakhir shoots an arrow at the traitor, but Irkun informs them that normal weapons don't work here. Elric understands and tells his friend to leave, or else he will die. Despite his protest, the Red Archer leaves. The two cousins get a blade each. Elric gets Strombringer, and Irkun gets Mornblade. They start to fight. Elric is stronger now, needing not drugs or magic. The two clash, and it feels like the sword hunger to fight each other and claim the life of one of the swordsmen as a prize. Or maybe both. Elric understands that the sword exists to fight, and it hungers for souls. The sword wants to control Elric, and once he realizes this, he tries to fight it. As Irkun comes to attack him, perfectly open for a death blow, Elric pulls the sword, only grazing his cousin. Elric tells the sword that it will not be his master. They will disarm Irkun, but they will not kill him. Irkun has no such quarrels, and he moves for the kill again. The sword moves fast like a rapier, answering to Elric's control. The Emperor grabs the sword with both hands, and his cousin does the same. With one overhead blow, Elric disarms Irkun. He smiles, knowing he bested his cousin, the will of the sword, and has defeated the sword brother. Mornblade hit a wall and lands on the ground. It lays still for a moment, then it shrieks and disappears. At Elric's feet there is a black scabbard with runes that match Stormbringer's. Irkun cries for his blade. As Elric approaches, the cowardly cousin tries to flee, but the hole shrinks in size to be as big as a coin. He begs Elric to not kill him with that sword. Kill him in any other way, but not with that blasted sword. Elric tells him they are both victims of living swords, demons, and gods, and that they wish one of them dead. More likely Irkun than Elric, and that is the reason why Elric won't become a kinslayer. He then proceeds to call his cousin a worm, and even if he had everything he ever wanted, he would still be a worm, putting more salt on that wound. Elric then tells his cousin to wake Cimmeril, but Irkun can't. He gave too much for too little, and didn't plan Elric would follow him and defeat him. Elric goes to the hole and discusses with Rakhir. They can't really escape. The archer could go back or get in and share the same fate as the Melnibonians. The archer gets in because there's not much to go back to for him. They discuss about how Elric kept Irkun alive. The archer asks if he can't cut the walls with a sword. The cowardly cousin tells them it's useless, so Elric has no other option but to pull out his trump card and contact his patron. He summons Ariok, and he appears in the monstrous form, until Irkun complains about it and the Chaos Lord switches back to his youthful and fiery form. The Chaos Lord congratulates Elric for getting the sword, but asks him why is his cousin alive. Elric tells him because he needs him to wake Cimmeril, and by the reaction of the Chaos Lord, Elric realized that he avoided a giant trap by not killing his cousin. He then asks for a way out. Then Ariok himself asks what is Rakhir doing here. Elric tells him he made a deal with the Red Archer and he needs to leave this plane as well. Ariok refuses since Rakhir was exiled there. There is no way for him to get out. But Elric tells him that if he won't do it, he won't take the sword and they'll be stuck there. Ariok argues that his servant must think of his responsibilities, but Elric already did, and he made his decision. The Chaos Lord finally gives in, but warns the Red Archer that the Lords of Chaos are known to be malicious. Ariok asks where should he take them. Elric of course answers and says to Melniboné, and the Chaos Lord does something creepy, saying the Emperor is his sweetest servant. The three appear in the throne room, and Elric tells his cousin to wake Silmaril because he has a bargain for him. Rakir says that there are so many bargains, it's like a marketplace. Silmaril wakes up and Elric tells her how she is safe now, how Irkun woke her up and he no longer hates his cousin. Both of them being victims of higher powers contributed to that. This mercy. The cousin is left to go. Devim says he shouldn't trust his cousin, but Elric doesn't need to trust him. If Irkun doesn't fear him, he fears the sword he carries. The two lovers then kiss. Devim is skeptical of Strombringer. A week of celebration happens and a lavish ball is held in the throne room. Devim broods while looking at Irkun. Elric talks with Silmaril about being empress, how she will marry him. Elric then tells her she has to wait 1 year, for he plans to visit the young kingdoms and change Melniboné for the better. Elric wants to learn if it's possible for men to rule their own destiny. Silmaril refuses to live with him. She is Melnibonian and has no interest for such things, though it is painful. Elric tells her that she must rule as empress, but of course she refuses. In the sea of people dancing, only one figure stands brooding, alone. And that's Irkun. Elric wants to put his cousin upon the ruby throne. Of course, Silmaril objects because it's a terrible idea. Elric argues that things are different now. Irkun gets his year to rule, and if he does good, Elric might abdicate and let his cousin rule forever. If he fails, then that ends his ambitions forever. Silmaril says she loves him, but he's a fool, a criminal if he leaves. Elric says he isn't a fool. He is Elric, and he can't help that. It is Elric that I love, but Elric is doomed. We are all doomed unless you remain here now. Elric tells her because he loves her, he can't. You will destroy us, Elric, Silmaril says. Elric tells her he will be back. He will discover things, and they shall live long and happy. Now, Elric has told 3 lies, and upon those lies is his destiny built. For it is only about things which concern us most profoundly that we lie clearly and with profound conviction. In the epilogue, Elric and Rakir sail Thrasha's ship by themselves to the port of Many of the Purple Stone. Rakir plans to find the City of Peace, Tanalor. Elric must follow his map and go back to Melniboné in a year. The archer asks him if he really plans to go back in a year. Elric answered that she will call for him. Rakir says he would like to join his friend, but he must find Tanalor, if it even exists. The ship starts sinking. Elric says that while the elements are friends, their power wanes, as does Melniboné. Rakir says he envies Elric, that he has friends he could trust, but he would be wise to trust nothing else. He says that while looking at Strombringer. Fear not for me, Rakir, for I am my own master, for a year at least, and I am master of this sword now, of Strombringer. I shall be a new man when I return to Melniboné.